my decision. So every time I would record that, okay, this was something that I thought about for a moment. It came to me. I didn't do that. And some other senses drew my decision. And I'm starting to go back. I'm starting to observe that, okay, you know what? I need to pause, listen, and then maybe take a
kind of step back and observe.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, that's a beautiful point. That's pretty much what Krishna is actually telling in the Gita. That be an observer. Because if you just go wherever the mind is taking you, you kind of connect it so deeply with that you don't even know that mind is separate from you. But if you kind of take a step back and then you see, oh, it's not me. He's saying so many things, and then you basically take help of the intelligence whether that's good for me or not. So I like that point, taking a step back and being an observer. Krishna uses that word a lot, being a witness or an observer to your mind. Yes, Prabhu, Srinivas.
So, I'm linking whatever Mataji said about you getting interested in something and you keep doing it like binge watching or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to link it to being in the present. We discussed maybe a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, I see a little bit of contradiction in my mind when I think about it. If I want to just be in the present, I want to enjoy the binge watching. But I actually have to think of future, that is the day after or that day evening, something like that, or maybe distant future, whatever it is. In that
have a vision and see where it's taking
I
you.
have to think of that and then make a decision, right? So being in the present
helps you
even
do
that should come with a lot of conditions, right? Because if I want to just be in the present, I want to just enjoy binge watching.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. The idea was being in the present is just one part of it. Yeah, you're right. So there are other aspects to it. Yeah. One thing I was thinking while you were sharing this is, especially with the uncontrolled mind, is it will tempt you to do something. It's like a kind of a force. You're forced to do something, although you don't want to. And Arjuna agrees. Basically says that what is that? That is almost like a force coming in me and asking me to do this. And after you do that activity, the same mind will tell you, why did you do this? This was so stupid of you. So it's like acts both way, right? It tempts you to do something wrong and then also kind of basically makes you feel guilty after that. So we have to be mindful of that also. So there is a nice slide I wanted to take you where this is explained in a very analytical way. This is where we ended from, and I'm going to take them 2 slides ahead, a couple of, here. So this is one of the famous verse from 2nd chapter of Gita. It pretty much describes everything that's happening with us, right? So what this verse is basically telling us is, as spirit soul in this body, we are scanning through this world, or kind of browsing through this world with these 5 senses. We are seeing at objects, we are listening to some object, we're smelling something, we're touching something, and at some point the contemplation becomes stronger. For example, just passing through an ice cream shop, out of nowhere, right? The sense of taste is so strong that it's telling the mind, I want this, and that's where it started, right? You saw the object, you contemplated, and now if you repeatedly see that, it becomes attached. Then you really want that after that. And if the desire is so strong that it overpowers our capability of memory. For example, if for some reason sweet is not good for you, it's there in your memory that I should not be taking that, right? But because the desire overpowers, it's so strong that the memory is bewildered. The soul cannot access the memory, right? Most of us are software engineers. Sometimes there is cold dump, right? Something like that. So the information is lost. And once the information is lost, the intelligence cannot take a proper decision, right? And you helplessly just go and eat that. So Krishna is emphasizing contemplation is the place where it all begins. And the stronger our intelligence is, we'll cut right there. We'll say, no, this is not good for me. I don't want to even engage in this. So contemplation is something very highly emphasized here. Anything else? Anybody wants to share?
It's all about the. I take it like it's all about the fight between mind and intelligence,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
it depends on who wins.
Who wins? Yeah.
Like kind of like try to go with this intelligence because that's the memory, all those things. So
Right.
it depends on who wins. It's always the fight between this thing. Like Forum said, I was trying to make the decision, but until the result comes, I could not. So it's always debate between the mind and intelligence.
Yeah. Right. Yes, Shreyans, it's your turn.
I was just for the previous verse. I was thinking that the
Mind
The
is
mind is
more-
obstinate, stubborn. Okay.
yeah. So Arjuna used like mantras to control the wind
Mhm.
and stuff. So are there any mantras to control the mind?
Yeah, there is. Did you hear? So he's saying there is mantras to control the wind. So is there any mantras to control the mind? Actually, we'll be discussing that today. So thank you for the question. Good question. Anything else I'm missing, Shambro, before I go to the... Okay.
As you see.
So we'll skip these slides and I'm actually going to take you directly to 4 things that we want to learn today. This is just one last slide I wanted to share. We should not be surprised if something is coming out of our memory, some thoughts or desires. Krishna is guaranteeing you that either in this life or some life, you actually took it inside and that's why it's coming out. So there is nothing can come out if there was no input given. So it's just like a computer. If you try to open a file in an editor and that file never existed, that's never going to happen. You actually stored that file somewhere and now you're retrieving it, right? So it had everything that's in our mind. We have taken some input from this world. Our traits, our behaviors, characters, they're all stored here. So when it comes out, don't be surprised. Yes, Martin, you raise your hand here.
Yeah, so when you say the information is already in before, so
Yeah.
it just this life or could be from the past life as well?
Yeah, so just
Like
just a
some
little
people
bit
say
of-
पिछले जन्म के कर्म
पिछले
है या
जन्म के।
कुछ है, so like we are carrying that also?
Yeah, so we'll be explaining that more in detail next session where we talk about karma. But just to answer your question in short, so as we know, we have this gross body which is the 5 senses, right? And we also have a subtle body which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. So when the soul passes away, the subtle body goes along with it. So the mind and intelligence goes along with it. So that's why those things are retained.
Carries the memories
Carries
too.
them. Yeah, that's why everything, sometimes even in dream or even while awake, you think of something and you're like, I haven't even seen in this world that's something which is coming to my mind. Has it happened to you? It has happened to me in the dreams also and sometimes being in the present. Where did you see that? How did it just come to you? Some colors or some situation? It's from the past. But most of it is erased and there is a good reason for that. We'll be knowing that in the next session. For a good reason, everything is erased, but certain traits stay there. Yes, brother.
Sometimes I do remember dreams
Yeah.
where those things actually I realize maybe sometimes months later or years later. So, for example, last week I was talking to a coworker and I told him like I had this dream, like this sequence of conversation or this sequence of meetings maybe a few months ago. So same thing I remembered multiple times in my life, like 20 years ago when I was doing my undergrad also.
Yeah.
I remembered something in my hostel and that structure was not even built at that time. I didn't even know that structure would be built. So I mean, I don't know how to relate to that.
Yeah, so there is something Shastras talk about, especially in Bhagavatam. Prabhupada also talks about if you want to know about dreams. I take it as a very good news. I don't know how you guys take it. But 99% of the dreams are useless.
Yeah.
Really. Actually, almost 100%, that's what Prabhupada says. Because all it's happening is all the activity that we did in our day, maybe today or yesterday also, they all get randomly combined. So let's say you saw a boy and you saw a river. And in the dream you will see the boy in the river. It's just very random. So Shastra says that except for any spiritual dream, don't be worried about it. It's not real. It's just random events taking place in your brain because you interacted, you did so much work, and now that the body is sleeping, it's just randomly connecting events here and there. You had any point? No. Sorry. Go ahead, Shreya. You had a dream? you had a dream about Krishna. Anything here before we move on?
So this one I like,
yeah,
it's the same Gigo,
Yeah.
good in, good out, or garbage in,
Garbage
garbage.
is garbage out.
It's the same formula.
I know.
The choice is us.
Choice is us.
choice in our
Yeah. That's why we are careful in terms of what we intake, right? Yes, Shreya.
In Ramayana, it says that like if you have any dreams in the early morning time, they're usually like real predictions.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that, true. Yeah, but many places Bhagavatam Prabhupada also mentioned that mostly it's useless, unless it's a very spiritual dream. Like we have a history of acharyas, they get dreams about Krishna coming to him, or even some gurus coming to him and telling them certain instruction. But that's very clear. They know in their heart those were not just a dream. That was very real. But that happens very rare. So at least I think I'm not at that platform, but maybe some of you are. So where do we get our scripts? Yeah, this is one thing I definitely wanted to highlight. Have you ever thought, because the mind is so active, it almost feels like it's a person or it's real? How many of you think like that? But if you see our the particular shloka that we talked about, except for the soul, everything else is matter, right? Like senses are matter, mind is matter, intelligence is matter, and only soul is spiritual, correct? So basically it's a dead thing. Then how is it that it's making us feel it's almost like active? There is a conversation sometimes, right? And it's telling you something. It almost sounds like real. So I had this question, so I asked Prince Swamiji. So he gave me a very nice answer. He's actually, he has a background of computer, so it was easy for me to understand also. He said it's just like a script. So we write programs, right? I mean, I used to write programs. I'm now administrator. But the programs is what? Mainly if-else condition, right? If this, do this. If this, do this. While loops, right? But mainly conditions. So the mind is like that. It has so many things that it has taken in, and based on a certain criteria, it reacts. And we think it's real. For example, there is a sound outside suddenly, like a big sound. And recently our experienced mind has told us sounds means bomb blast. So it will go and refer to the program saying that there is a bomb blast outside. And some other person might have an experience that there is a Diwali and he heard a sound of crackers, right? And he will say, oh no, they were actually crackers, right? So it's all about what's in the mind. That's why it's like a script. And it's always constantly talking to us based on whatever we observe and we do. So that's also very helpful to know. Alright, so now we come to the four major aspects of spiritual life, which will help us steady our mind, or rather steady our intelligence and focus our mind. And of course, as Sundarananda Prabhu says, empower or enliven our soul. So the first thing it talks about is association. There's so many quotes and so many verses about association. But the one thing I really like is, I don't know who said that, but one of the famous authors, he said, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are, right? So it's actually no secret. Sometimes we wonder what kind of person we are becoming, but it's all about age. Of course, there are other aspects to it, but very, very predominantly, this affects us. And the other nice quote I recently heard was, you are the average of 5 top persons that you regularly associate with. So if you go back and do your homework, what are the top 5 people that you associate with on a regular basis? You are actually an average of that person. So one good news is I associate with Sham Prabhu a lot. So I'm average
His
of
average
a
has
little
come
bit. So association is focused so much in spiritual life. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, what happens, like, say the close 5 people
Yeah.
are very extreme, this east and west.
Yeah.
What happens to us? We are so confused.
Helpless.
We lost ourselves. I can imagine, because I have the friend which is east and west. I
Pulling
can
you
say,
in different directions. Yeah.
yeah. When I go this way, I'm like completely living different life. This way. So I always, like, in my mind also, so confused. Because I get lost.
Yeah.
I don't find anything negative being here or there, so I'm enjoying both the stuff, both the friendship. It third person sees it completely. It's bad influence. It's good influence. For me, I don't see anything negative in it.
Well, as long as we are in charge of our life, as long as it's not hurting us to an extent that it's affecting our schedule or our nature or our character.
It's not hurting me. It's hurting other people around me. So that's another issue come up. Like, okay, what you want to do? Like, it's my relationship.
Oh, so they're asking you to take a stand. Wow, that's a difficult thing. I would also
So
be.
in that association also, like,
Either you're
5
with
people,
me or
right?
you're with her.
You have to be just have same-minded people.
Seems like you have some very possessive friends. They're like, you are just with me or nobody else. That's difficult if you have. I mean, except for spouse, I guess. That's nothing to think about. Spouse also can be difficult. My wife keeps telling me, can you just give me some time? Just here. No, yeah, sure. So, yeah, I guess it's once you're in charge of your life, I think you'll figure it out. And as we go along more and more, I'm guaranteeing you, probably you'll get an answer yourself.
No, that's why I'm here. I'm like, hopefully, Gita will help
Because
me.
these are
Because
very.
I don't find anything bad in anybody, I want all the relationships.
And that's one of the benefit of reading Gita on a regular basis. Because if you see the second chapter also, Krishna uses this word so many times, perplex. Perplex means we just don't know what to do, what not to do, right? What will be good for me, what is not good for me. So, if we go through these sessions and ultimately start practicing this, I'm telling you, you'll be empowered, you'll know it. With how much time I want to spend here and how much time I want to spend there, you'll be more in charge of your life. That's what it's the whole session about. Yeah. So gradually, I guess it will take us there. Sorry, Mata, you had something?
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, sure.
So, I was just thinking as you're saying, I think almost all of us
Yes,
somehow
you're
or
at
the
some
other
point, right?
have those.
You're not alone.
I was just thinking that, whichever association takes us to the ultimate goal of life, the fastest, the easiest.
First to find what is a goal of life.
But at least that's good. I mean, we will now have increased interest. I want to know the goal of life
now
very
I want to
quickly,
know.
so that I don't have to deal with both of them. But
Yeah.
that's one thing that is.
Prabhu and Mataji had something.
Yeah.
Maybe ladies
Just-
first. Is it okay?
Just one thing, right? So one thing, you're not alone, and most of the couples are like that. That's so marriage is like. Number 3 is like association, right? So I'll also, like, when I look at each other, us, like, we are associated, right?
Mhm.
So who influences who on which character, right? Like, he influences me on certain characters which I admire in him, and I influence him on certain characters which and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. We are couple. We have lot of time to get influence, so that's one of the reasons. Of course, this is also association. So I see that as an association.
That's a
It's
good
all
point.
about who is influencing who.
Yeah, I like that. Influence also matters, right?
Yes.
Associating is just nothing, but
Yes.
some people are more influencing than others. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu, you had a point.
Isn't there a concept of being Ekanta Bhakta? If the soul is really Satchitananda, aren't we better to be alone than be associated? I mean, there is always the risk of negative influences as we are discussing.
Yeah.
And since our Atma, Jiva is Satchitananda anyway,
Mhm.
so maybe our spiritual path or the purpose would be better served if we are alone.
That's a good point. Actually, at a very high level of consciousness, you can be alone because Krishna is always with you. So you can have your intimate relation with him. It is said that a yogi who has advanced very high, he is at a platform that is constantly seeing the super soul, and super soul is watching him, and he's so absorbed, so involved with that relationship that he doesn't need anybody. That's achieved by practicing Ashtanga Yoga. But what we are going to be talking mostly about is Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is all about working together. Of course, individually also, but it's mostly working together to please Krishna. Because interestingly, I don't know how many of you have observed, have you seen a picture of Krishna alone? Absolutely nobody, just Krishna.
Only like
Vishwarupa Darshanam.
chained.
Very
Krishna
rarely,
as a chain.
very rarely you will see.
Right,
He's
right.
always with somebody, either a peacock or a cow, gopis or koalas. He himself, being the supreme person, he wants to be surrounded by his devotees. In fact, he doesn't want to be alone. Although he's Atmaram, he's completely satisfied. But he still wants to be associated. But I'm not denying that Ashtanga yogis do that, and at that platform it's possible. But there is always a danger, as you said. So everybody knows the story of Vishwamitra, right? He was a great sage, and then, these sages are very great, so we should not undermine when I say that there was a fall down, he got attracted to Menaka, and he could not practice it. They're just here to show us an example. But it happened to him, just to show that when we try to practice in alone, it's very hard. Like Prabhupada used to give an example, if you have a stick, you can easily break it. But now you bring sticks together, right? A bunch of sticks together, try to break that, it's very hard. So association like this, that protects us, that nourishes us and also protects us. So that's very important in practicing spiritual life, especially in Kali Yuga, because the atmosphere is so difficult. Anything doing spiritual is so hard.
One thing I reflected back on what he said.
Yeah.
Isn't it about introverts and extroverts? Like extroverts are really good when associated,
Yes.
but introverts are not good when they are associated. They are really good when they are by themselves,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm just reflecting back on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's true. So we all have certain swabhav as we have acquired from this life or previous life. So you're right, there is always some swabhav. But the idea is, even in the association, let's say you don't speak so much, you just want to hang around and still enjoy, that's also enough.
Right.
You don't have to really
Right.
speak. Like when I'm attending classes like all of you, normally I don't speak up. I don't ask much questions also, of course, because I have very little intelligence. That's another problem. But usually intelligent people, they have a lot of questions. So it's not that once you are there in this association and if you don't speak, that's considered that you're not taking advantage of it. You could be just there but enjoying the kirtan together, the topic together. That's okay.
Just to extend
Yeah.
it. So, maybe that should also be looked at in a different way. Like maybe in our mind we are detached,
Mhm.
but in our day-to-day life we need to perform our dharma.
Yeah.
So that you need to keep doing to take care of your family, your
Yes.
elders, your kids, etc. But at the same time, maybe in the mind you can still be detached and attached to.
That's a good
the
point.
world.
Yeah, external and internal. Yeah. I was just thinking, can we do this little exercise once we know that association is so powerful? What all things actually rubs on us when we associate with people? Like very specific things happen to us, right? When we associate. Can you try to name one or two of them or a couple of them? What exactly is association? What does it? What it does it to you?
Influence.
Influence is one thing, yeah. But influence is what? I mean, definitely influence is either negative or positive,
Habits.
good or bad.
Influence
Habits,
on
who said
habits.
that? That's perfect.
Influence on
That's
habits.
one of the things. So the kind of habits we develop, just go back and see. It's the people you have associated with, that's why those habits are come in you. So habit is one thing, very nice.
And the influence, I'll give you modern example like
Yeah.
Twitter or X or Instagram, right? So you like somebody's tweet,
Yeah.
or now it's called post. So you like somebody's post and you think that the underlying theme in that message resembles how you look at life or how you look at that particular
Scenario.
scenario.
Yeah.
Then probably you follow that person, and then the way that person keeps putting out messages, right?
Yeah.
That influences you because to a certain extent you are your own person, but after a certain time you keep getting influenced, sometimes for the good, sometimes may
Yeah.
not be for the good, but a real life example where we all can
Yeah. On the social media also. Yeah. So habit was one thing. Anything else comes to your mind when you're associating? What all is changing in you?
Their
Emotions.
Emotions? Yeah, that's a nice point. You will either become a more emotional person or less emotional depending on whom we are associating. Yeah?
When
Thank
we are
you.
with happy people, we tend to become happy.
Yes, happiness also. Yeah, it's just natural, right? If everybody's happy, you be in that association, you feel happy for no reason. It comes free to you. You don't have to do anything. Yes, Varuna.
I was gonna say the same thing. Energy, whatever level this other person is that you are contacting or having a conversation,
Yeah.
even their energy reflects back on us.
Energy,
If they are
yes.
feeling low, you will immediately get the sense.
You feel the vibration.
Yes, you feel the vibration.
Yes.
If they are filled with the joy, you will feel the same. So it reflects on us immediately.
Wonderful, nice points. Somebody raised hand this way. I missed it. No. I'm looking for one very specific thing.
You can improve your knowledge.
Knowledge, wonderful. Yeah. How knowledgeable it also depends on how you associate, how much you associate with people. I'm still going to say I'm still looking for that one very important thing. That kind of molds our life. Really molds our life.
Desire.
Who said that? Clap for my That's wonderful. I'll give you my own example. I'm a Sindhi, so I come from a family where we do business. And I ended up becoming an engineer, and the whole family was shocked. What's going on? Who was going to take care of the business? But then, after coming to Krishna consciousness, when I was going through this kind of knowledge, I realized, oh, I know now why I became an engineer. And I guess most of you know the answer to now, right? I just used to hang around with people who had desired to become engineers. I never was hanging around with people who were wanting to do good with business, right? I was spending more time with them. And it's just so obvious, my desires changed. So it's actually such a big influence on us. Based on who we associate, our desires actually also change. So that's why it's very important that we choose our association. Have you also noticed some very physical things that change in us in terms of gestures and all that? The way we talk, the way we smile. It just rubs on you. Like Shyam Prabhu's son Gopal. So we all regularly go and hear classes from our temple president. And he plays, we call it Ching Ching.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, but you must have seen that smaller version of Ching Ching he always plays. And when I came to Prabhu's house for a few weeks back, we were just discussing how we were going to do this program. And I saw him exactly same posture. And I was shocked. I said, how did he get this? Because he's contemplating on the Guru so much that he actually, even his gestures have become like that. The way he wants to express himself or wants to play that. So it actually influences you to that level. The way you talk, the way you walk, the way you smile, your gestures and your communication. Yes, Madhu.
It's funny though. Most of the time when I see a person walks the dog in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
I feel the dog and the owner are like resemblance, like kind of, means not in a bad way, like by kind of the way they dress up and the way they kind of like little bit resemblance. Most of the time I kind of observe. I try to look at it from the park like, that looks like some owners don't have the right dog, but they're like, that's not the right dog. Kind of like, I don't know.
The man walks like a dog, right? The dog doesn't walk like a man.
I just observe, like I was sitting
that's
across the
funny.
park.
It can happen, yeah, sure.
in terms of influence, see, in professional life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of managers that one works with shapes you were thinking.
Yeah, you're thinking and
in terms of how you manage a task, how you manage a team.
yes,
You get influenced a lot by your manager.
yes,
My own experience, both learning and teaching.
yeah. So I just wanted to end up with this one thing on association. There is a beautiful sloka in one of our scriptures called Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we progress, you'll get introduced to it. My Sanskrit is not so good, so excuse me. It says, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kare. Actually, this is Bengali, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. If one moment of association with sadhu, now one might think of a sadhu with a beard and a big hair, but actually you're all sadhus, believe me or not. Anybody who comes to hear about Krishna, he's categorized, or spiritual life in general, he's considered a sadhu. So it is said that one moment, actually it says 1/15th of a second, I don't know where that number came from, but somehow it says that if you associate with a saintly person, your doors to liberation open. Krishna is, or the universe is so pleased with you, that here is one person now you associated with, all good fortune is going to come to you. So that's why it's so important to associate with saintly people. Actually, it was a tradition. We are all coming from India, so we all know this, right? We have our grandparents also doing that, always trying to invite saintly people at their home. But
Bhajagovindam, Satsangatve, Nisangatva, Nisangatve, Nirmohatva, Nirmohatva, Nishalatva, Nishalatva, Jivanmukti. So with satsang, you go all the way to Jivanmukti. So
yes.
Shankaracharya.
Yeah. So association is so powerful. Either way, if you associate with, of course, I don't like to be mean, but let's say you associate with drunkards, you'll become drunkard very soon. I mean, nobody comes clean from them, or nobody comes contaminated from the womb of a mother, right? After you are born, it's basically just the association you keep choosing, and that's the person you're going to become. So it's very important to associate with devotees. Next is, so A stands for association. We are going to study A, B, C, D. We are all children in spiritual life. We might be grown-ups very advanced in our work, what we do, but in spiritual life, it's good to be children, right? Nothing wrong. And B stands for books. So we all have experiences, engineering, medicine, whatever we did, everything else. Somehow I just know these two things. I think most of the Indians only know engineering and medicine, but now it's changing. But we all got it from books, right? So those are nice. It gives you good memory, it builds your intellect and so many things. But in spirituality, it is also emphasized that we, on a regular basis, we read books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'll tell you some practical things that will happen to you if you read that. Our temple president introduced a program called CHAD. It stands for chapter a day. That means you just read Bhagavad Gita slokas, one chapter every day. And it's the most amazing thing that will happen to you if you continuously do that. I've been doing it for last about 7 or 8 years. In my mind now, almost I have every sloka picturized where it is. I'm not good at Sanskrit, so I don't know the Sanskrit so much, but I know which places they are in English. And remember, we were talking about how the intelligence has to be built so that the mind can guide the mind correctly. By reading Gita every day, or at least on a regular basis, whatever we can, it will be so clear, right? One of the sloka I like in Gita, it says is, you get 3 things if you read Gita every day. He said, Krishna is saying, you'll get the happiness that we are all looking for, right? That's one. And when we say happiness, sometimes it can be little, it can be little confusing because sometimes we might think we also get happiness by eating good food, right? Or watching a good movie. So, what is this happiness Krishna is talking about? Krishna is making it very clear. The happiness he is talking about is something that will always stay with you. It's spiritual happiness. The happiness that we are experiencing currently with the food that we eat, or the movies that we watch, or kind of the work that we do, they all have a beginning and an end, right? And that's the frustration that we experience. And that's one of the frustration we experience, because here is the spirit soul, who is eternal, full of knowledge, and he has experienced bliss, and he is in a situation where everything has a start and an end. So the soul is completely in an incompatible situation. If you analyze ourselves, that's one of the reasons we are frustrated, because we were made for happiness, in fact bliss, right? That's one of the nature of the soul. And here we are in a situation where we are being bounded that this is all you get, this is the beginning and this is the end, and we're constantly struggling with that. So the happiness that Krishna is talking about is the happiness of the self. That as you connect with Krishna more and more with the process of yoga, you will experience that spiritual happiness. You don't even have to worry about today my spouse made good food or not, or my boss is going to give me a good raise or some salary. You will start experiencing some genuine pleasure. Recently we had one of a very good saintly person, very knowledgeable, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. He was visiting, and he said a very nice thing. He said, we are all looking for pleasure. Agree, right?
Yes.
But he said, no, actually not pleasure. He said, we are looking for meaningful pleasure. Because pleasure is there in this world. We don't deny that. Because sometimes it's wrongly taken. When you sometimes see shlokas like very heavy will come out, this place is miserable and temporary, and the mind is like, well, it's not so bad. Why are they talking about it's temporary, miserable, so bad? The pleasure is actually there. But the only problem is it has beginning and it has an end, and we get frustrated. So Krishna is trying to bring us to a platform where he is enjoying unlimited, and he wants us as his kids also to come to that platform and enjoy that happiness of self, right? So that's what Gita is talking about, where it talks about happiness. So Krishna says you get happiness, guaranteed, if you read on a regular basis. The second thing it says is, your endeavors will know perfection. In everybody you talk to, whether it's a housewife or a person working in corporate, one thing we all want is, whatever we do, there should be a good outcome of that, right? Say yes, I'll feel better. Yes.
Yes.
And that's natural, right? But somehow or the other, the results are not in our hand. We all know that. Another sloka Krishna is saying that you have rights to work, but the result is not in your hand. But once you connect with Krishna, with the process of bhakti, he will make sure that whatever endeavors you do, they will end up with perfection. You can see example of so many great people or great devotees like Arjuna. To begin with, he didn't want to even fight, right? And then of course, what a battle it was fought. It was, so many talented archers and soldiers were on the opposite side. And here is Arjuna. Of course, he was great, but can you be so great and just do everything, what he did? In fact, it is said when the war was over, and Arjuna requested Krishna, please get down from the chariot. And Krishna is smiling. He said, no, you get down from the chariot first. And I think some of you are laughing, so smiling, you know the reason. Because there is so much karma being absorbed, so much energy being absorbed. If Krishna was not there, and if he had to step down from the chariot, the whole chariot would blast. And actually it did. So Arjuna stepped down first, and then Krishna. And then he saw, Arjuna actually witnessed, the whole chariot was, burned.
And
So-
even from the flag, the Hanuman flew away.
Oh, okay, I was not.
Yeah.
Right. So his endeavors came to perfection. Why? Because Krishna says, I am with you. Nothing can stop you. So that it's not just true for Arjuna, it's true for all of us. When he's talking to Arjuna, Prabhupada very nicely says, if the mother-in-law wants to correct the daughter-in-law, a good mother-in-law will not tell directly. What she will do?
Do it and show it.
She will tell.
She will do it and
Do it and show it.
Okay, that's one way. But
or
let's say she have
will,
to.
she will tell it to her son and
Very close. Almost.
In a friendly
Oh, you
approach.
know it. You seem to be happy.
Oh my God!
I believe it. She once knows this.
He knows the relationship.
Yes, go ahead.
Will she give hints?
That's nice.
You need to teach that mother-in-law.
No. He's too smart. Oh my God. Very close. She will tell to the daughter, right? A good mother-in-law, if she wants to convey something to the daughter-in-law, the mother-in-law will tell to the daughter, and then indirectly the message will go to her. So Krishna is giving this knowledge to Arjuna. Indirectly, he's giving to all of us. And as much as Arjuna is important to him, we are all also important to him. As we see, as we practice, we'll see that in our lives. So that's why reading is very emphasized. And of course, I don't know how many of you are aware of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is another literature which has Vedavyasji compiled in his maturity. So other than the Bhagavad Gita, as ISKCON devotees, we also read Bhagavatam on a regular basis. It's mainly the story forms, a lot of stories from Shastras.
What's the third thing?
Sorry?
No, you said 3 things that...
Oh yes, thank you. He's so attentive. I'm thinking, I'm teaching about being attentive, and here is an example. So happiness, perfection, and he says you get the supreme destination. That and the end of your life, as we were discussing, we'll probably study that in more depth. The Gita and also the Bhagavatam is saying there is a lower planetary system, Patal Loka, there is middle planetary system, Bhuloka, and there is upper planetary system called Swargaloka. But beyond that is also Vaikuntha, and that's beyond that is Vrindavan or Golok Vrindavan. Everything is actually picturized and given in details in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Bhagavad Gita, if you see, Krishna is constantly telling us, depending on the choices that you make in this life, you end up being born in one of those universes, right? But you also have a choice to go back from where we came, like a Vaikuntha Loka or, Golok Vrindavan. So that's the supreme destination that he's talking about. But that's just a little summary I'm giving, but we'll probably go in detail on that. Next session. Yeah. Okay, so very important topic, chanting. Prabhu, you have these? Okay, but I guess we can do it on fingers when it comes to okay. Right. So the third thing is chanting. C stands for chanting. If you go and do a search, Google, or of course now AI also, the benefits of chanting. If you want to study it scientifically, there are so many videos, but I'll just give you some short idea of actually what chanting does according to the scientists. They have done so much research. In fact, they have put so many cords and wires of people who meditate and chant, and they record their brain waves. So brain waves are basically correlated with how many thoughts that are going through in our mind. So it is said that on an average, some thousands of thoughts, they come, 60,000? Yeah, you can't even imagine, it's so fast. That many thoughts come to us and they go. By chanting, when they observed the personality who was chanting, they saw the brain waves became very regulated. Like instead of having spikes like that, it became very regulated. It's one of the easiest or one of the recommended way to calm your mind. Of course, there is breathing exercises also. I do that. Because have you noticed in the morning specifically, depending on how tired you are, sometimes the body is ahead of mind or sometimes the mind is ahead of body. Like for example, sometimes I wake up, I have so many things to do. I feel like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. So mind is already ahead. But body is like, I just woke up, come on, give me some time. Just give me rest, right? Have you seen that? It happens to all of us. And sometimes it's exactly opposite. The body is very fresh and mentally we are just so exhausted. And we have to do housework, I have to do the dishes. Sundaran Prabhu was doing last week, he was speaking, who will do the dishes? The wife or the husband? Prabhu said, do the dishwasher. Somebody else. So sometimes it's like the challenge, right? That body is very active, but the mind is saying, no, I can't do this, right? So the breathing and the chanting brings the body and mind in sync. They're both like, you know what? Let's act as a family. Let's be a partner. Let's do it together. So that's the scientific part of it. I won't go too much into detail. But honestly, the real benefit of chanting you get is knowing from the spiritualists. Right? So there are so many mantras. There is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is mantras for chanting glories of Shiva. So many things. So there are many mantras. Then the question would come is why Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Now the first thing is very obvious from what I just said. It's because it's Mahamantra. It's not just a mantra. So Maha Mantra means the mantras of mantras, right? Everything is in there. So even if somebody is chanting some different mantra, the benefits of that is included in this Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's number one. Now the number two is, our scriptures say that religion cannot be manufactured by anybody. It has to be coming in the parampara, starting from God Himself. And if it comes in that order, you take it, you will see the immediate benefit. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say there is a problem with one of the circuit here, right? And Sham Prabhu tries to figure it out, what happened and all that. And he gets a message that, the problem is actually with the PG and there is a disconnect right from there. So that's why the power is not flowing, correct? So the whole idea is the power is flowing from a higher authority to other places. So the spiritual knowledge, it is said in Gita also, Krishna is saying, Evam parampara praptam. This knowledge comes in the parampara. So if you receive in the parampara, you get the results of it. Okay? So ISKCON is in Brahma Madhva Gauriya Sampradaya. It's starting from Lord Brahma and it's passing down in that parampara. So about 500 years back, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as, Krishna himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he started this movement. He said, this for Kali Yuga, this will be the thing. And there is actually a very beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. It goes like this. It says, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan asti ek mahaguna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vijayate. So, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. This Kali is full of dosha. Dosha, aapko pata? Mostly faults, right? It's full of ocean of fault. But there is one good thing. There is name of Hari that you can chant and it will counteract the effects of Kali Yuga. So like recently we all experienced the coronavirus, right? The COVID thing. And everybody was just waiting for the one thing, right? The vaccine to come. We know once the vaccine comes, we are okay, even if there is virus. So this Kali Yuga is going on, but if there is a vaccine to that, that's the Maha Mantra. And it goes like this. It is, of course, many of you heard that, but it's 16 words and 32 syllables. So some people like to pronounce Ram. Some say Rama also. Both are okay, but I say Rama. So because if you say Rama, then actually it becomes proper 32 syllables. So it's like Hari is 2 syllables, Krishna is 2 syllables, and Rama is 2 syllables. So that makes it 32 syllables. So this is the most potent way, it is said, to empower the soul. Like Sundaran Prabhu was saying, right? The 3 things: empowering or enlivening the soul, and focusing the mind, and strengthening the intelligence. This is one of the powerful techniques of, getting those benefits, the chanting on a regular basis. So we were just thinking, is it okay if we just chant for 5 times? Okay, we just
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes.
We want to give everybody a taste.
Okay, so we started like. This is a good time to start. Okay.
Can you switch off the lights?
So before we chant, I would recommend that we say. I will say this mantra, and you just repeat after me. This mantra is actually so potent, so pure, that before we chant, because the idea is, if you don't chant this mantra with purity, don't worry, it's not going to happen. There is nothing wrong going to happen. But just the idea is, because it's so pure, it should be actually chanted with that concentration and with that mood. But because we are not at that platform, what we do is we chant a mantra just before that, and that nullifies all the inattentiveness or the proper mood that we may not have while chanting, right? So I will just say this mantra and you repeat after me. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So now we'll chant. Yeah. Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks for reminding. So every time you buy some product, there is a manual with that, right? And it says it is best used if you follow this procedure, right? So to get the best results from this mantra, there are 3 things it is suggested. 3 P's rather. So the first P starts with the position, posture rather. So the way we sit, like Sundaran Prabhu was also saying, right, last week, the way we sit kind of tells how our mood is going to be. So when you're chanting, it's recommended if you're a little straight, uptight, like this. And then the second P stands for pronunciation. That's the super important thing. Just chanting and hearing is very, very potent. So only thing we have to do is just focus on the hearing. So just try to hear your own mantra. And the third P is the prayer, which many of us may have it at this moment, but if you don't have, just don't worry. The only thing you try to do is just listen to the mantra. So we'll try to chant for 5 minutes. Sometimes in a group when you chant, you might also hear chanting of other people. It might be a little difficult. So try to focus on your mantra if it's possible, but if you think the other person is chanting better, it's okay. Take it. There's no loss. Synchronous is better, right? So, yeah. So we'll do it synchronously, and Shyam Prabhu will tell us when to start.
Prabhu,
Yes. Oh, you have a question?
Can we please ask you to repeat that second P?
Oh, second was posture.
No, the first was
Oh, pronunciation. Pronunciation. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Just the hearing, like Hare Krishna Rama. If it just goes in the ear, that's sufficient, and you will feel that as you chant more and more.
Because these names are
Oh yeah, I
spiritual.
yeah. Do you mind, Prabhu? I just want to take 2 minutes doing that. Okay. So can you turn on the light? Is it okay? Just for 2 minutes. This is a very important point. Thank you for reminding. 2 things I wanted to say before we do this, because that will really help us know what we are getting into. This is how powerful this is. And of course, the first thing was the meaning of this, right? So the Prabhupada explains the meaning of this Maha Mantra is that Hare stands for the energy of Krishna. So by chanting this mantra, we are telling Krishna, or his energy, which is Srimati Radharani actually, that please engage me in your service. As we studied so far, that the spirit soul is a marginal energy, right? We are spiritual in nature, but we have the tendency to become material, but our natural position is to be spiritual. So right now, for whatever reason, we are in this material situation. And by chanting this mantra, we are telling, please put me back in the spiritual position. That's one. The second thing I wanted to say was, according to the Shastras, Krishna and his name is not different. So when I am saying Krishna, of course, if we say it at that platform very high, you will actually experience that. But even at this level, you will be purified. So when we're chanting this mantra, actually Krishna is with us, it is said. And the example Prabhupada gives is in the material life, for example, when you are thirsty and if you say water, that's not sufficient, right? You have to actually get the water and drink it, because the word water and the actual substance is different. But in spirituality, the word and the person is the same. So when we are chanting this, we are actually directly associating with Krishna. So that's how powerful it is. Is that what you meant to mention? That's okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and chant. Okay.
Mind bring back.
Yeah. If it gets distracted, just don't worry. Just try to hear as much as possible. Okay. So we'll start. It's 8-1 and then 8-5 will end it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Thank you very much for participating. Prabhupada used to say that, can you chant like this Coca-Cola for 5 minutes? You'll get bored. In fact, you won't even finish 5 minutes. But I don't know, how was your experience? Of course, I definitely want to take 1 or 2 reflection. But it just feels like you just want to go on, right? Although you may not know the meaning so much or what you're actually doing, it's like a fire. If you're near it, it will give you the warmth. You don't even have to understand what the fire does. So with this, can I take a couple of reflection? How was your experience chanting? Or if it's okay to share, yeah.
Yeah. So usually when I do any kind of chanting at home, I don't know, my mind wanders. Like I'm either thinking about work, either thinking about what I need to do right after this, or what I should be doing at the same time, like multitasking. I don't know right now, when I was doing the chanting, the Murlidhar was the only visible. I'm like, is this really happening? He just there. He was there. Like I saw his pratima, and then I kept his foot the way Krishna's legs and the foot rest. That kept enlarging, magnifying. Like that's there, and I'm like, for a moment I kind of did this, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this again. It still happened, and I don't know if that signifies anything but my mind didn't wander. So I don't know.
Actually, it says 4 things happen to you gradually as you chant. So it says Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. So if somebody chants very attentively, or he has actually developed a pretty good taste in chanting, he will see the form of Krishna. And of course, the next step is you'll meditate on his qualities and pastimes. So they're very high advanced level of spiritual realization. But the beauty of this mantra is especially coming together, even if we may not be good chanters individually, but when we come together, because there are some of them or more of us, would be really chanting at a very high level of consciousness or energy, so we get that benefit also. So that's why chanting together is so powerful. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Krishna is surprising, yeah, he is surprised. Yes.
When will they be serving for Shatan?
Oh wow, it's time for me to end. Just 2 more minutes and I'll end.
He's undone.
Yeah, I like kids are so honest, just straightforward. Really like hiding things, even if we don't like, no, it's good, no problem. They're like, no, I'm not happy, I'm hungry.
I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Just a few minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. Yes. You will be raising hand, Mataji?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
For me,
Yes, Prabhu.
I'd say that our mind is focused and we are trying to listen to what you say.
Yeah.
That's what happening to me. Nothing is like keep my blank. That's it.
Wow.
Just listening to the
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you, Prabhu.
So
Yes, ma'am.
before we started the chanting, you give nice tips how to sit and what do we listen. So that helps a lot. So I was like freezing my time while we are chanting. So I didn't even know it's been five
Yeah,
minutes.
I felt like that actually. I said, oh, is it really 5 minutes? I felt like that.
Yeah, I thought everyone stopped and lights are on.
Yeah. I also felt this super synergy, when we were all chanting together.
The
I
ending
felt
felt like out of.
Yeah, the ending felt like, why we have to end now. But Shivansh is hungry, so we. Otherwise, she would have gone. Thank you, Shyam Prabhu, for bringing that up. I would have missed that. The meaning is so helpful, and that's one thing I always feel coming from Indian background is we are all missing is we all know the rituals, we all know puja and everything, but unfortunately, with our busy lives, we have lost the knowledge. That's why knowing this knowledge and then doing the rituals makes it spiritual. So Shyam Prabhu's Guru Maharaj, right there the picture, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, many of you must be knowing, is one of the book Journey Home. It's very popular, very famous sannyasi in ISKCON. He says that when you know the spirit behind rituals, it becomes spiritual. Such a nice thing, right? You just have to know the spirit behind rituals. Otherwise, it just becomes mechanical, right? So, thanks to Shyam Prabhu to bring that knowledge up so that when we chant, we knew what to do, what to expect. Anybody else? Shreyans, yes. He's a good chanter.
I also noticed that when we were chanting, it's hard to get distracted because even if we get distracted, then there are other people chanting. So that we always get reminded that we should be chanting and focus on chanting.
That's the
Because
power
other
of.
people realize so that's what the advantage is.
That's the power of association. Even if you don't like it, we have to do it right. And then we gradually start liking it, right? Yeah, because.
Also the vibration when we chant, so that increases our energy also.
Yeah, right. You feel more energetic, right?
I feel.
Yeah. I mean, just take it as a joke, but you'll get good sleep also. If you chant,
Yeah.
you'll get very good.
After chanting, our mind going to very relaxed.
Yeah. One devotee said after he chants nicely, he feels hungry. There's fire inside. He feels like really like I have to eat something now. So I guess with this Prabhu will end. I know we had to cover diet, but I'm thinking is it okay? 2 minutes, okay. Just we'll touch base on that. We guarantee you it's 2 minutes, not 2 minutes. There is just one last thing. So A, B, C we covered. This is the last thing. So diet also helps in making our mind more focused and our intelligence strengthened. So Krishna gives a hint of sattvic food in 18th chapter. He says what people eat in mode of goodness, what people eat in, or rather what you eat will make you in mode of goodness, and what you eat will make you in mode of passion and ignorance, etc. And no better than Paul's Mataji, she's into sattvic cooking, so she can actually probably enlighten more on us, more on that on some day about sattvic food. But the idea is that if we intake sattvic food, our mind is more peaceful. We can. Of course, there are so many benefits from having a healthy body also, but it also affects our mind and consciousness. In fact, sattvic food is one thing, but I just want to definitely add this also. Everything Krishna is saying in Gita, there is a shloka. He says that everything that you do, everything that you eat, everything that you offer, do it as an offering to me. So as devotees, even whatever we eat, we offer to Krishna. So although it's sattvic, it has to be sattvic, that's the first thing. But when we offer it to Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. So even the food we eat actually is spiritual because it is touched by Krishna. Right? And you'll feel the difference when you are eating just normal food versus prasadam. You'll feel that spiritual potency also in that. So the details of the sattvic food maybe we can cover sometime later, but generally it's wheat, flour, rice, they all come in that kind of fruits. Next session is okay. So that's there in detail. Okay. So with that we'll end, and if you had a couple of announcements, so I'll pass it on.
I was thinking, just as the chanting went, the class didn't feel like that long.
Yeah.
So
That was the
it
best
was
part, I think. Everything
so
else
interactive
was
and
boring,
so
that
nice
5
actually.
minutes was
So let us actually thank Ram Prabhu for giving his time and energy. If we didn't have this end time or the kids to bother her, I think we would have gone on for
No
some
bother.
time. No, not Shrivans. He's better. I'm talking about other kids. So, Ganesh Chaturthi is coming up. Actually, it is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, one of the scriptures. Lord Ganesh is one of the pure devotees of the Supreme, and we can actually pray to him that in our spiritual journey, whatever obstacles that may come across, there will be a lot of them, I'm sure. So we can actually pray to him on this occasion, and I'm sure over the next few days that he kindly empower us that we can actually get over them and become a better version of ourselves. So we can be an instrument of compassion and love from the Supreme to this world. So we can become a better version of ourselves and help others also become better versions of themselves as well. So one more very important and probably so Sundarananda Prabhu, originally when we started, he lives in Cupertino. He has a program that he does at his home on every Friday evening. So the Fridays that he was coming here to give class, parallelly at his home, there was another program going on. Can you imagine, like, you're coming from your home and there are another 30-40 people coming to your home. So Prabhu was very kind to do that for a few weeks, but the idea was eventually at one point we will merge the Friday group with the Saturday group. So that time has come. So, and of course also for us, both me and my wife Shama, both of us have our day jobs Monday to Friday with kids and so many grocery shopping and folding clothes and all that stuff. So we thought this might be a good time. So starting next week, next Friday is actually Radhastami. So first of all, I actually wanted to invite all of you to the ISKCON temple at Mountain View. Just as the father usually is a little strict, but the mother is more loving and more compassionate. So if you do want to get a cookie of spiritual life, it's better to ask the mother. So that's why we celebrate Radhastami with more energy and enthusiasm. So we actually wanted to invite all of you to please come visit the Mountain View temple in ISKCON. And I can provide you more information later. So next Friday evening we will not have the class, and starting next week, so we will have these sessions only on Saturday evenings. So I hope all of you are able to come and continue this journey. So we would really appreciate all of you making some minor adjustments to your schedule. So
I just wanted to ask, you can ask if there will be really some inconvenience, we can just check.
If somebody cannot absolutely make it, we will have session just for you on Friday.
No, we just wanted to see like if there is anybody. You think?
Anyone think? Okay, maybe we'll first start with, you're able to make it on Saturday evenings? You're okay? Shriyan is okay.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic. Yay, good. So most of you are able to.
Going
now,
to the evening only or
same time.
Oh,
Actually, we have been doing this for past 4 weeks now. This is the 5th week. So every time somebody asks, same time? I say same time. Same prasadam also. We cook fresh. So starting Saturday we'll have more cooks to make more items. So hopefully we'll have bigger. So I also wanted to see if any of you, it's absolutely not possible for you to join on Saturday. As Prabhu is saying.
Just for next Saturday.
After that, okay. Oh, good. I mean, that's the only thing we were all worried about. We don't want to lose even one of you because it's. I was just saying it's for him, of course, for Sundaran and for me also. It's almost like a family now, right? So we were just hoping that this change should not bring any inconvenience to any one of you, and you're not able to make it. But it seems like most, or all of you rather, would be able to do it, right? That's good. That will relieve Sundar.
Actually, originally I'm sure we called all of you individually. When we started, it was supposed to be a one-day program. But the enthusiasm of so many of you was overwhelming, and we thought if so many people want to know the essence of Bhagavad Gita, we shouldn't be the gate for them to get that knowledge. So we contemplated on various things, and we ultimately decided that even though it's little stretching for us, so we decided that okay, we'll do programs on both the days. So many people called us crazy, but somehow by His mercy and by the help of all of you, we were able to do it. So hopefully starting next week, yes.
Just in case, like, do we get any video or recording just in case if someone is missing, at least they can for their.
That's a good
So one other point Sundar Prabhu mentioned and we discussed at length was about it's a different energy sitting here and hearing than watching online later. So one thing Sundar Prabhu said is we can record, but if you have a genuine reason, you can contact me and I'll be happy to share the recording with you.
I just checked my calendar. It's 7. We are until 7 October, right? So.
Okay, I mean, as long as you have a good reason, I think. Of course, we would want you to watch these. The best is sit here and here. But let's say you have some other commitment, which is understandable. I mean, all of you are working, have kids.
Only session
Oh, sure. That should be okay. That should be
At
okay.
least they don't miss the topic.
Yeah.
Next week.
Otherwise, it's once you miss, it's like a break, and you feel like anyway I may not be able to understand the next session. What's the point? So we will record, and we will share the recording with whoever wants to hear more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Also, I think the kids are about to come, so we will also thank Daivi Kumari Mataji and my wife Shyamu Kumari, who were engaging kids. They did a wonderful craft actually. I was very curious how the craft will come out. So we'll see. Please do take, the kids are coloring pages. They're doing fantastic job. I mean, because they are doing it in my office room. They leave the papers and go, and I'm thinking, wow, such. I collect them and I say, please give it to their parents. They feel happy. So please do collect them. And I also want to thank different cooks. I don't have the list. Somehow I'm not very organized today. I'll get that list. But I also want to thank everyone who cooked for today evening. I know it, especially for cooking for so many people, we are not used to it. But we thank. I know Forum cooked, Pushpaji cooked. Yes, she cooked. Anybody else? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's thank all the cooks. I lost the link where it has the sign-up sheets. My apologies for that. So we will.
I just wanted to say for people who could not cook or something, like I'm always in that category. One thing I always say to my wife is, if you cook good, great food, but if there is nobody to eat, what's the value, right? So you can all take solace if you have not cooked, and just accepting that prasadam is also equally important.
Yeah. Actually, of course, the multiple levels. So to be able to come here to give almost 2 hours every Friday evening or Saturday evening is not ordinary. As Prabhu was mentioning earlier, all of you are great souls. Krishna actually calls anyone who wants to understand spiritual knowledge, whatever may be their motive. Some people go to God with a motive, paisa do, please. So even them, Krishna actually says they are great souls, because they understood that there is someone superior and they are trying to acquire that knowledge. So even if you are not able to cook, like I am also in that category, I am only doing the organizing, and my wife asked, can you cut this? I said, 5 minutes. And after 1 hour I come back and say, need cutting help? This is, everything is done.
That's a good idea. I should do that.
Not, it doesn't work always. It doesn't work always.
I think I have the link now. Okay, Swati Mataji also cooked. Sumita ji, Pushpa ji, Poram, Manali is also there. She increased, but okay. Yeah, she was here. But okay, so as usual, we will go through the main door, and then we will come back and take our plates here. I need a couple of volunteers' help to fold this up, and we have a hard stop as usual. We have some other family commitments, some graduation celebrations, so we'll be heading out soon. But please continue as usual, every week. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.